My name's Mel. I was first diagnosed with osteosarcoma when I was 12. I'm now 25 and I've had 2 recurrences in that time. I had it in my femur, which is one of the long bones in the leg. I received surgery to remove that bit of the bone, and I had chemotherapy. So I first noticed something was wrong when I was dancing. I used to be a dancer when I was younger, and I first noticed symptoms of swelling and a pain that just didn't go away no matter what I did. People kind of that I knew were having a look at it, and we at first thought it was a sports-related injury, but soon realised it was something else going on. So my symptoms were pain. It was a really deep ache that didn't go away, was a lot worse at night, and I got quite significant swelling as well in quite an odd place around my knee. I was diagnosed in a hospital setting. I first went to my GP with my parents. I was quite young, so I remember a lot of sitting outside of the GP rooms, just kind of waiting for the discussions to be had. So what I remember is we went to the GP, I got sent for an X-ray and then got sent for an MRI. Everybody knew something wasn't quite right. They then referred me to, I think, a paediatrician in the hospital who took a look at the scans, knew it was something, but obviously didn't know what. And then they referred me onto the surgeons at Stanmore, who then took over, took a biopsy, did loads more scans. And then I was eventually diagnosed after we got the results of the biopsy. I think it all in all took about a month. It wasn't until 7 years later that I got my first recurrence, which it came back in exactly the same place around the prosthetic bone. We then amputated above the knee, and I received a different chemotherapy regime. After that, it was less than a year later that on one of my follow-up lung scans, we saw 2 nodules, one in each lung. I received surgery to remove those nodules and quite a significant proportion of both lungs. And since then, that was in 2020, and I've been cancer-free ever since then. I think awareness is important for the general public because I know somewhat from my own story and also from other people's stories that it often takes ages to get diagnosed because there's so much confusion in the process, there's so many different people that need to be involved and so much liaising. All of that takes a lot of time, and time is one thing that we don't have. These cancers grow incredibly quickly and survival rates massively are impacted the longer it takes to get diagnosed. So I think for the sake of survival rates and for the sake of being able to actually start treatment, it's so important for the general public to be aware of the kind of pains and aches that are normal to get in kids, and then the red flag symptoms of pain that doesn't go away, pain that's massively disabling in a very short space of time. I think it's really important for people to know, so they have a better chance of survival. I think awareness is really important for healthcare professionals because we need to catch these things early, and we need to be mindful of the kind of things that aren't normal. We need to listen to patients when they say, this isn't normal, this isn't right. Listen to people's instincts, I think, especially when it comes to children. I know from my own medical training that we've been taught to treat any lump and bump with very high suspicion. I think that is because of people's stories and experiences of not necessarily being listened to the first time, not being adequately investigated the first time. As a doctor, I think that my experience has unavoidably impacted my practice and the way that I connect with people. I think it's really hard to say because I don't know what I don't know, and I had these experiences in very formative years, and I think it's impacted me in person in loads of different ways. I think probably in my practice, it gives me just a different level of empathy for people because I know what they're going through. I've been through what they're going through. And I think that kind of impacts the connections that I make with my patients. I think that the Bone Cancer Research Trust is an absolutely incredible charity. It brings patients and researchers together. It acts as a place for patients to get loads of information in one place and have it all really, really clearly laid out. It acts as a place for people to get support. And the charity also plays a huge role in funding research and research for treatments. We all know that treatments are horrible and they have horrible lifelong side effects. It's really important that we start bringing new treatments into the field, because it's going to improve survival rates. It's also probably going to improve quality of life for people. God forbid I should ever get a recurrence. I'm so grateful that I've had bone cancer during the time where the Bone Cancer Research Trust exists, because they're actively funding research now. We're looking into new treatments that could be impacting patients 5 to 10 years from now. God forbid I should ever get it again. I may even benefit from those treatments that we're researching right now. So I'm so happy and grateful that the Bone Cancer Research Trust exists to fund it. My advice that I would give to a patient or family going through this would be strong for each other and be mindful that you're all struggling in very different but equally valid ways. I would also say stick together. You're the only ones who know how this experience feels, but also it's really important and healthy, I think, to have outlets and people to turn to outside of your immediate circle.